It's off-season handbook time. It is time to spend the Polad's money. We are doing a blueprint today. Nick Nelson of Twins Daily released his off-season blueprint. Also, you can get the off-season handbook at Twins Daily. Let's go in here and check it out. I'm not going to give away his blueprint. I want you to go check it out. I'm going to put a link down in the description of this video. You can see that's a big hint. But what I'd like to do is, I think the fun of these to me is getting to see a lot of different ways that an offseason could be built. So what I want to do is throw one of these together in which I don't pick any of the same players as Nick. I do things a little bit differently. I'm going to fill one of these out as well. So at the end of this, you'll see sort of my full roster, but we'll go through some of the thought process as we go through that. And then I'm actually going to, Nick picked to have the budget be even. I'm actually going to have a slight reduction in payroll because I think that is more likely to happen. So Nick's blueprint here will probably be a little bit more fun than mine, but I have some reasons for optimism even with a reduction in payroll. And I think this will be fun because, again, this is sort of playing GM, getting into that thought process. Now, again, I said I expect the payroll to go down. I think we have not realized as Twins fans how much actual off-season free agent spending there's been with this club. So I don't want to make it seem like that's a big, cheap Polad shot, sort of that same old. Of course, I would prefer that they spend, of course. But I think we've been kind of spoiled in a way, in a Twins way. So here is this past offseason free agent spending, the offseason, the Twins, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. The Twins were 10th in free agent spending last year, 16th in overall payroll. And if we go back to the season before that, that was when the Twins signed Josh Donaldson. So they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in baseball in free agent spending in the 2020 offseason. And then jumping back to 2019, we see the Twins rank pretty well here as well with $48.6 million. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9th. So three consecutive years in the top 10 in free agent spending, and you can see, even though they're, in the top 10, it's a pretty big gap between some of the biggest spending teams. So take that with a grain of salt, but there's no question they've been one of the most active teams in free agency the past 3 off seasons. It seems weird to say about the Twins. And when we're talking about the offseason for the Twins this year, most years, we're talking about starting pitching. How can we fix the rotation? There's not much in the cupboard. They are going to need to address that. So I have MLB trade rumors pulled up here. We're going to look through this free agent starting pitching class. And I like the way this is broken up. It's broken up into tiers. It's a fun way to talk about it. I don't think the Twins will be in the running for Max Scherzer. I don't think the Twins will be in the running for these top-of-the-market guys, Robbie Ray, Kevin Gausman, Marcus Stroman, Carlos Rodon. I just don't see it. Some of these former Cy Young Award winners, Zach Greinke, Justin Verlander, Corey Kluber, Clayton Kershaw. It would be fun to get one of those guys just because they're very kind of name brand pitchers, and the Twins have kind of done some of these things in the past as far as targeting guys like this. I don't think that would be the best place to go shopping for the Twins, to be honest with you, because these guys are going to cost quite. I mean, Corey Kluber got paid $11 million last year for barely pitching, and after a season in which he barely had pitched. So I just don't think the bang for the buck is going to be there with these guys. Although, there is something to their ability to possibly mentor some of the younger pitchers where they add value there. Mid-rotation arms in their prime, I could see these guys doing a lot better than a lot of people realize. And some of these guys have been really injury prone. DeSclafani's missed a lot of time, Matz, Alex Wood. But John Gray was a guy that I liked a lot and that Nick put on his blueprint. I don't want to give away his whole thing. I do want you to go check that out. But so he's off the board for me, unfortunately. I think these guys might do really well. Remember, 2 years ago, Kyle Gibson got a 3-year, $28 million contract, almost $10 million this season. Starting pitchers, even if they're not a top of the rotation type guys, do well in free agency. And none of these guys are very old. I think this would be a nice place for the Twins to be looking for somebody in, but I'm not sure. Everybody's looking for pitching. It's going to be tough. And then the next tier is older veterans / back of the rotation guys. This is basically where the Twins shopped last year with Happ and Shoemaker, and it didn't work out. That doesn't mean it's never going to work out. But I don't know if this is the way, you'd much rather see them up in this tier than down here. However, Michael Pineda, a reunion with Michael Pineda makes a ton of sense. He seems very comfortable here. He's always pitched well for the Twins, seems happy with them. And he's just been a steady, reliable guy. Michael Wacha is another one of these guys that I do find interesting as a guy to sign either as a fifth starter or competing for fifth starter, because I think he could be interesting out of the bullpen. There's another guy down a little bit lower that I feel the same way with that as well. And I think those guys, these kind of guys, there's a range of things that free agents are looking for, money, number one. Some guys are, the guys in these tier of these older guys are looking for maybe one last hurrah in the World Series, looking to pitch for a contending team. But some guys are looking for opportunities. And that's what I could see with Michael Wacha. Who's going to guarantee Michael Wacha a rotation spot at this point? He's got as good a chance at being a starter again with the Twins as about anywhere else. Down in this next year, rebound hopeful / depth option, I actually like a few of these guys. The guys that stand out, Dylan Bundy was really good in 2020. It was a short season, though. You got to take that with a grain of salt. Danny Duffy was really good in a short sample this year. Traded to the Dodgers, never pitched for them, but he was throwing in September. Very intrigued by Danny Duffy. Moving on, Dan, Michael Lorenzen is an interesting name. James Paxton, who should be much cheaper this year, just always hurt, but when he's healthy, pitches really well. Some other names, Noah Syndergaard, I don't think I would quite put him. I suppose he qualifies. He qualifies as a rebound hopeful. Depth option, no. I think, they mention in here that Syndergaard might get a qualifying offer. If he's worth offering $18 million plus on a 1-year contract, I think, if we were ranking these, just not in tiers, but Noah Syndergaard would be pretty high up. And then another guy in that Wacha class, Vince Velasquez. Again, I don't think many teams are going to guarantee him a rotation spot, so he might be looking for a place where he can compete to get in a rotation, and also is interesting to me as a guy who could be valuable out of the bullpen if he doesn't work out. You need, nobody's going to get through the season with 5 guys in the rotation. You need a lot of starting pitching depth to get through the season, and these are the kind of guys that I could see making a lot of sense. The other key position this offseason for the Twins is going to be shortstop. Obviously, we'll talk about some bullpen guys in a minute, but they have to get a shortstop. There's no way around it, unfortunately. Andrew Elton Simmons didn't work out. I could see a reunion with him happening, unfortunately. I honestly think that's more likely than the Twins landing one of those top 5 shortstops. I know the Twins need a shortstop. I just don't see it happening with Correa, Seager, Semien, Story, and Baez. It is a very impressive shortstop class. You even have Chris Taylor. It's not really an everyday shortstop, but there are 10 teams that I see that are probably going to be shopping for these guys. I don't think the Twins are going to outspend those teams. I don't think the Twins have better opportunities than those teams. I don't think the Twins are closer to winning than those teams, and I don't think the Twins are likely a location that those guys are going to want to go to over some of those other teams. So, that's just how I see it. Hopefully I'm wrong. That would be cool. But then we look through, we have some other shortstops. Jonathan Villar. I like Jonathan Villar. I can't see the Twins signing him because I don't think they want to play Polanco at shortstop all that much. And Villar isn't really an everyday shortstop. I think he's a bit stretched there, better as sort of a utility guy. So I'm actually ordering off menu to fix the shortstop situation. You need a multi-year shortstop, in my opinion. I don't think, you sign a Freddie Galvis or a Iglesias or a VR to a 1-year deal. I don't know that you're going to want to hand the reins over to Royce Lewis or Austin Martin. I don't think Austin Martin's a shortstop. Royce Lewis, he's got a lot to get back to. He's going to be, after a year off, 2 years off, really, he's going to be hitting live pitching for the first time this year. Unfortunately, the Twins don't have an internal shortstop they can turn to for a year or two. So I think they're going to want to acquire someone who is a multi-year solution, who can play the position at an everyday level, provide defensive value. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be after one of these 5 guys. Well, they might be after them. They might be shopping for one of these guys, but I don't think they're going to land one of the 5. So who does that leave? This surprises even me a little bit. Paul DeJong is not a guy that I came into this offseason sort of intrigued by, but you know what? Again, there is a nice free agent shortstop class. I just don't see a guy that really makes sense a ton for the Twins. I think this guy does, and he's coming off of 2 bad seasons. I understand that, but he is a very strong defensive shortstop. You can put him there every day and trust him. You don't have to worry about moving Polanco back. And he's got power. He's got a 30 home run season in his background. He had 19 homers in just 400 plate appearances this year, but you see there the 674 OPS, the 86 OPS plus. I would point out that he had multiple core body injuries, a back injury, a rib injury that landed him on the disabled list. I think he played hurt through a good chunk of this year. But his overall career OPS plus is 101. So he's basically a league average hitter over his career. Now, a lot of that was built up early on, and he's been struggling more of late. But this also, again, comes with plus defense from Paul DeJong. This is an intriguing buy low, the guy, because you've got him under contract. This may seem like quite a bit of money, 6.16 this year, 9.16 next year, that especially. But you just paid Andrelton Simmons $10.5 million or whatever it was, so $10 million for what you got out of him. So if you kind of put it in context of a guy who can be a plus defensive shortstop and hit, potentially, it doesn't seem that bad. And then also you have options. So if it really works out for you and you don't have an internal replacement, you have these nice two options in 24 and 25 that come with really modest buyouts. A $2 million buyout, a $1 million buyout, that's nothing. So if it doesn't work out, it's not like you're on the hook to pay him much. So I really like that situation for Paul DeJong. But as you can see here, we are at his baseball savant page, and his outs above average is at 89, sprint speed at 62, and his walk percentage is right around league average at 47. So, there's certainly some concerns in here. He's got a good barrel rate as well. And then just to get one more defensive metric here at the Fielding Bible, the DRS leaderboard for shortstops who have logged at least 800 innings, you can see Paul DeJong ranks pretty well there, up toward the top, not in Simmons level, but certainly not a guy that you're trying to move off the position anytime soon. So, again, not a guy that I was even getting excited about, but I think he could make a lot of sense for the Twins. And why are the Cardinals getting rid of this guy if he's so intriguing? They had Edmundo Sosa come up at the end of the year and play really well. He's a very good defensive shortstop, young guy. He's making around the minimum. Maybe they're even going to be shopping in this free agent class this winter. I don't know. The Cardinals, they could. So, I think they would like to shed that salary, and I don't think it would take a whole lot to get DeJong away from him. I think you can give them a bottom end of the top 30 list for the Twins, maybe a guy like Spencer Steer or Trey Cabbage or Junior Severino. Not throwing shade at those guys that are trying to get rid of them. I kind of the opposite. I think they would have some value to a team like the Cardinals. They would have some intrigue in those guys. All three of those guys coming off really good seasons. By the way, and they're kind of extra parts in the Twins system if you think about it. The Twins have a lot of corner outfielders. They have a lot of second, third base guys. They don't have a lot of shortstops, so I would be willing to trade some of that depth away to get a proven MLB shortstop into the system for multiple years. And in that article by Nick Nelson at Twins Daily, you will find a link to this roster building tool here. It's a spreadsheet that can help you kind of organize things and see if you're hitting your target budget and things like that. So let's go through my end roster here. This is an off-season blueprint. Paul DeJong is the newest starting shortstop, a right-handed hitter. I think the Twins kind of need another guy who can provide some offense from the right side and a plus defender. We traded prospects for him, so no impact to the big club. And then down on the bench, you see I've got Delino DeShields Jr., who I've got a note here that I am signing to a minor league deal because I think the Twins do need another legit option at center field should Buxton get hurt. Unfortunately, that's just something that they should be planning for a little bit more than they have in prior years. And DeShields has been around a while, but a good defensive center fielder, a speedy guy, another right-handed hitter. Not going to bring a whole lot of offense. That's why he's going to be available on a minor league deal. But the key there is he's not eating up a 40-man roster spot the entire spring training. You can have him off the 40-man until opening day when you're probably going to be putting somebody on the 60-day DL anyway to make room for him. And then also he's just a very replaceable guy. At some point, Jose Miranda's coming up and taking that spot. Once Nick Gordon is more comfortable as a super utility guy, we'll give him a little bit more time there, working in center field, working all over the place, also a little shortstop. Then we'll move on from DeShields or send him down and bring up Miranda to get reps. And without an everyday DH, I've got Sano listed there, but Kirilloff's going to play some first, some left in this scenario. Arias is going to play some left, some second. Sano is going to play some first base, of course. Donaldson's going to get some time at DH. So all these moving parts, I think Miranda can also be a moving part in that picture, mixing in at third, at second, at first, potentially in the outfield, how depending on whether or not he works out there this winter. He didn't look comfortable there this year, but I think if you give him some time to work on it, he could do it. And one of the noteworthy things about the lineup is that I kept it pretty much together. No Mitch Garver trade, no Max Kepler trade, no Luis Arias trade, no Josh Donaldson trade. I could see definitely the Twins entertaining trades for all of those guys this winter. But I talked about earlier this offseason, Mitch Garver, if he's a very valuable player. And if somebody's going to value him and give you basically a pitcher at that kind of a value who has multiple years of team control, I think the Twins have to do that. Unfortunately, as much as I love Mitch Garver, but I think you've got Ryan Jeffers and Ben Rortfit who could, and it's really not that hard to find a veteran backup catcher. So I'm not saying I'm locked in on sort of running it back on the offense, but this has been a good lineup. I think they could, if you're looking to get the Twins back into playoff contention, keeping the lineup together is maybe the easiest way, especially in my scenario here where you're shaving $10 million off the payroll. This gives them the best chance that I could figure, in my opinion. And then here is the pitching staff that I ended up building. Michael Pineda is a free agent addition, but he's been around a while with the Twins now. And looking at some notes here, Eduardo Rodriguez, the lefty from Boston coming in, I kind of compared him to Lance Lynn when he signed with Texas. Lynn was coming off that poor season that he had partially with the Twins. Eduardo Rodriguez, a lot of his underlying numbers are great, but his overall ERA and things like that aren't very good. It's kind of hard to imagine what his market's going to be with that being the case. But I put him down. I'm putting him down for a 3-year, $36 million deal, $12 million a season. He's one of the younger free agent starting pitchers. So I like that about him, and I think that's why he's going to get a multi-year deal as opposed to a lot of these guys who are going to get one-year deals. He's so young. Pitched a lot of big games with Boston. He's had a lot of success earlier in his career. Even though he is young, he's in his prime still. He has a lot of experience in pitching in the tough AL East as well. So I like him as a target for the Twins. And as you can see here, Michael Pineda, I've got him down for $9 million. The Twins have been paying him $10 million all these years. He's a year older. He pitched well. He pitched well enough to get a $10 million deal again, I think. Maybe another team would be interested in him at that mark, but we'll bump him down to $9 million. I think he'd sign that. He's another year older. Again, you're not going to be expecting to make as much money through free agency. Then next, I've got Vince Velasquez, again, a guy that I've been intrigued by. I put him at $6.5 million because that's what the Tampa Bay Rays gave Chris Archer last year. That I'm comparing that only on the contract dollars to try to get a dollar amount for him, not comparing, hopefully, the results. I could envision a scenario in which Velasquez is available for cheaper than that, 6.5 certainly, but I wanted to get real-life comps, and that Archer one I thought felt pretty good. Velasquez is a guy who has shown tantalizing stuff, and he's never had a hard time striking guys out. So I do think there's going to be teams that are going to look at him and think we can fix him. So there'll be somewhat of a market for him. He would be an interesting reclamation project for this Twins team. And then you've got Ober and Ryan after that in the rotation. However, those two guys, they don't have a huge track record. They're both rookies. I wanted to build a little bit more depth, even beyond Randy Dobnak. So we added Michael Wacha on a $2 million deal. So when I talk about being interested in Michael Wacha, that's what it is. It's not, a $10 million deal. He got $3 million from the Tampa Bay Rays last year. So I don't think he really earned a raise. I don't think he's, going to go for the minimum, but a $2 million deal for Michael Wacha to sort of be a 6-starter type. Again, there's not often that all 5 of your projected rotation are going to be healthy. So I would imagine, if he's healthy, he's getting 20 starts in this scenario. A nice situation for him to fall in. And like Velasquez, a guy who I think has some bounce back potential. Corey Knebel is the reliever I really like. I've talked about him a couple times now. He pitched very well with the Dodgers in the postseason. I don't know how much that's going to affect his market. I found him to be pretty similar to Archie Bradley when he signed a 1-year, $6 million deal. So that's what I'll put down for Knebel. I could see he's younger. I could see him getting a multi-year deal potentially. But talking about what free agents want, if Corey Knebel wants saves, this would be a nice situation for him to come into. I am keeping Rogers. I do think Taylor Rogers is a potential non-tender candidate for this Twins team, depending on where they're trying to go. In my blueprint, I'm bringing him back, and then adding Knebel as sort of the right-handed closer, but definitely more of a power pitcher, a guy who's going to overpower lineups as opposed to Colomé, who's sort of the cutter specialist. I wouldn't be shocked if Colomé was back, but I'm not. I'm not going to bring him back, to be honest. It's not a no-brainer decision. I don't think he did pitch very well after April, all things considered, but I'm ready to move on. So as you can see here, that does result in some buyout money, just $1.25 million from Colomé, and then Maeda on the injured list listed on here as well. So I did get into my budget, basically, barely over. That's a $120 million budget. This would be a very high variance team. And I think that's kind of what the Twins are going to look to build in one way or another. It might not be these names, it might not be this budget, but I think they're going to look to build a high variance team, meaning that if everything goes right, you could really see them doing some big things. If everything goes wrong, it's going to be ugly, and they're going to be potentially doing a bigger rebuild in the future. And then zooming out here, you can take a look. There's the full roster. Again, keeping in mind that we've shaved $10 million off the payroll. Hopefully that is creating space to sign Byron Buxton to an extension. Obviously, a big motivation on his end will be getting a raise over his projected arbitration salary for this coming season. So I think this blueprint really affords that a lot more, and also opens up the door for some guys to come up from the minor leagues. Because if we're talking about really getting this franchise back in order, this can't be the way that they operate every year, signing all these free agents. They need to get homegrown guys up and on the major league level having success. That's Jose Miranda. That's Yohan Duran. That's Jordan Balazovic. That's guys like that. So this blueprint both kind of affords that, keeping Buxton around and providing some of those guys opportunities without throwing them right into the fire on opening day. This is a transitional team. You can transition prospects onto this team in May, toward the All-Star break, whenever they're ready. But you're not throwing them into the fire to where they have to perform sink or swim, kind of like the Twins did last year with non-tendering Eddie Rosario and putting Alex Kirilloff in that situation. We're not going to address that right now, but just saying that's kind of the thing I'm trying to avoid with this roster. Let me know what you think. Also, if you end up going to Twins Daily and filling one of these out, please do share it. At Twins Daily, they'd love to see it. I'd love to see it too. So thanks so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like and consider subscribing for more Twins talk here on YouTube.